Hey guys, so we are on week 3 of our probability week. We have talked about simple probability. So, what is a probability that something will occur or one thing will occur, or chance probability of like how likely is it to rain, and finding the percentage. So, probability is basically making a fraction of what you want over the total amount of different outcomes, making that fraction and turning that fraction into a percentage. So today we're going to talk about a compound event or compound probability. This is when we want more than one thing to happen. So compound means more than one. So we want more than one thing to occur here. So when we're talking about compound events, there are two different ways that we can look at them. One of them is an independent event, and this is where the events do not affect each other. So they don't, when one happens, the other one doesn't change it. So they do not affect each other. They don't change the outcome. So it's like if I buy something and then you buy something, what's the probability I'll buy a pair of tennis shoes and you'll buy a hat? My money doesn't affect your money, so they don't affect each other. Another example is like if you roll a die, remember dice is more than one, a die is just one, and then, or flip a coin. They do not affect each other. Whether I roll a 6, it's not going to determine whether I flip a heads or tails or whichever. So that's one way, is an independent. The other way is a dependent event. And this is when the outcomes, they affect each other's outcome. So it's, if you pick a card and then you pick another card without putting it back. So that's actually big words that deal with our independent, our dependent. Our independent, a big word to know for this that goes with our independent is replace, which means we put it back. And a dependent is not replace, which means we don't put it back. So when we put it back, it's independent, and when we don't put it back, it is dependent. So if I pick a card, I don't put the card back in the deck, I keep it, and then I pick another card. They affect each other. They affect the outcomes when you replace or not replace. So there are two different things that we do with probability. When we have more than one event going on, we can either add it or we can multiply. We're not really going to subtract or divide. We add or we multiply. Words that are going to tell you you're going to add your outcomes together is the word or. Words that mean you're going to multiply are and, then, and both. So when you want and something else, you're going to multiply. When you want something then something else, you're going to multiply. When you want this as well as this, you want both of them, it's a multiply. But when you want this or that, it's an add. So here's some examples. So if I say that I want a king or a 7. I want this or that. It doesn't affect whether I get this or I get this one, so it's independent because I don't care which one I get. So when I have a deck of cards, remember we said there are 52 in my deck, so my total goes at the bottom and what I want goes at the top. So there are 52 cards in my deck. A king, there are 4 kings. I want an or, so I'm going to add these together. And then there are still 52 cards because I want or a 7. So I still have 52 cards, but this time I want possibly a 7. So the chance of me getting a king or a 7 is when I'm going to add them because of that word or. You add your fractions together, your denominators stay the same. 4 plus 4 is 8. So the probability of getting a king or a 7 is 8 over 52. When I want something like I pick a king, then a 7 with replacement is a key word here, so I put it back. So when I pick a king, or when I pick my first card, I put it back, and then I pick a second card. So I pick a card, and then I pick another card. I have a then here, so I'm going to multiply these together. So in my deck of cards, I have 52. A king, there are 4 kings. I put that card back, whatever I picked the first time, so the second time I have 52 cards, again, to pick from. And once again, there are 4 sevens. So when I multiply, I go straight across. 4 times 4 is 16. 52 times 52 is 2,704. So that is very slim that I can get a king and then get a 7. One last one that I want to put into our notes is, what if I pick a king, then a 7 without replacement. Without replacement. So when I look at this, I pick a king, so once again, I pick a king and then I pick a 7. So I have 2 different things occurring. I pick a king, there's 4 out of my deck out of a total 52. I have the word then, so I'm going to multiply because of that word then. But I didn't put that card back, so I picked a card here and I kept it. So I kept this card, which means the next time I go and pick a card, I have 1 less card, which means I have 51 here because I have 1 less card to pick from because I kept this one. Let's say that I did pick a king here, so all 4 sevens are there. So when I multiply, I'm going to do 4 times 4, which is 16. But this time I'm going to do 51 times 52, which gives me 2,652. So when I look at these 3 different types of questions, but all combining 2 different events. So when you see the word or, it means to add. If you see the word and, then, and both, that means to multiply. If you're not replacing it, that means you're keeping it in your hand, so you have 1 less card. So if I picked a 3rd card and I didn't replace it, I'd only have 50 cards to pick from. So you want to make sure that you look out for that word replacement, with and without replacement. If you put it back, that's perfect. It doesn't affect anything. If you don't put it back, it affects a lot of different information. Hopefully these notes helped you out and you're able to do your assignment. Have a good one.